September 7, 2019 Board of Commissioners zoning hearing. This morning, we're blessed to have the Reverend Roger Allen from the St. James Episcopal Church to lead us on invocation, and then Officer Ott will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So those who are willing and able, please stand.
Thank you, sir. Let us pray. O God, our Heavenly Father, God of mercy, God of forgiveness, God of love, God of all, the source of all things and the source of all authority, look with compassion, we pray, on the entire human family. Through our struggles and our confusion, help us to be about the work you've given us to do on this earth. The barriers which divide us may crumble, suspicions disappear, fear, arrogance, and hatred which infect our hearts may cease, divisions be healed, and that all may live in justice and peace, working together to eliminate poverty, prejudice, and oppression, that peace may prevail with justice and justice with order. Send down upon this meeting, we pray, your Holy Spirit to move, guide, and direct our deliberations and decisions that we may act in wisdom and charity and justice for all, faithfully promoting the well-being of all people. And remembering, O Lord, the account which we must all one day give, may we truly be faithful and honest stewards of your bounty. We ask your blessing in the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, Father. Appreciate you coming today. All right, John, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today's hearing will be conducted with the following process and procedure. Each case will be called in numerical order. When each case is called, would the applicant please stand and raise their hand to show that they are in attendance? Then we're going to call to see if there's anyone here opposed to the case. We would also ask that anyone opposed stand and raise their hand so that they can be counted for the official record. After recognizing the applicant and any opposition, the applicant in opposition will be asked to come forward to be sworn in so they can present testimony to the board. It's important to note that the applicant will testify first, and then the opposition, if any, will testify second. Each side gets 10 minutes to state their case or concerns. There's not a process to reserve your time or for rebuttal, so convey all your information to the board within your 10-minute time period. Additionally, if there's more than one person wishing to speak on a case, you may want to coordinate with each other about what you're going to talk about, because each side only gets 10 minutes, and you don't want to cover the same information twice. Then after both sides have had their 10-minute presentation period, the board will start to discuss the case at hand. From the discussion, they may ask one or more of the speakers to come back to the front for questions or comments. After that, the board will make a decision to either approve, deny, hold, or continue the case. There are two cases on today's printed agenda which have been withdrawn, the three cases on today's printed agenda which have been withdrawn without prejudice and will not be heard today. First case is rezoning case Z55 of 2019. Mountain Reserve LLC. This case has been withdrawn without prejudice by staff and will not be heard today. Land use permit number 18 of 2019, Jeffrey C. Payne and Melanie T. Payne. This case has been withdrawn without prejudice by staff and will not be heard today. Other business number 55 of 2019, Caroline Cobb. This case was withdrawn without prejudice by staff, will not be heard today. Mr. Chairman of the board, there was one case that submitted a letter to withdraw their case, and we just did not get it on the agenda. The applicant has asked for zoning case Z31 AIM Freight Logistics LLC to be withdrawn without prejudice. So we would ask the board to consider that.
Commissioner Cupid's district, she'll make a motion to withdraw without prejudice.
So moved.
Have a second? Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
If anyone is here in the audience that is for the AIM Freight case, that zoning application will not be moving forward.
Mr. Chairman, board, there are a number of cases on today's agenda which have been continued or held and will not be heard today. First case is rezoning case Z71 of 2018, Pope and Land Enterprises Incorporated. This case was held by the Planning Commission until the October 1st, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing, so Z71 of 2018 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z43 of 2019, Embry Development Company LLC. This case was continued until the October 1st, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z43 of 2019 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z45 of 2019, WS Hotels LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the November 5th, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z45 of 2019 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z52 of 2019, WLM Holdings LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the October 1st, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z52 of 2019 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z53 of 2019, Land Development Associates LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the October 1st, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z53 of 2019 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z56 of 2019, KO Management Incorporated. This case was continued by the staff until the October 1st, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z56 of 2019 will not be heard today. SLEP 13 of 2018, Kennesaw Jewish Center Incorporated. This case was continued until the October 15th Board of Commissioners zoning hearing. So SLEP 13 of 2018 will not be heard today. SLEP 4 of 2019, A1 Auto Cores LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the October 1st, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So SLEP 4 of 2019 will not be heard today. SLEP 11 of 2019, Milestone Hotel Management. This case was continued by the staff until the October 1st, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So SLEP 11, 2019 will not be heard today. And as a side note to that, we did get a letter late on that the case will be withdrawn in the October hearings. And finally, other business number 35, Pogue Shopping Centers LLC, was continued by the staff until the October 15th, 2019 Board of Commissioners zoning hearing. So other business number 35 will not be heard today. I would like to ask people in today's audience, if you have a cell phone, please turn the volume off on your cell phones. The ringing does interfere with the broadcast and presentations. Any person wishing to speak before the Board of Commissioners must file a campaign contribution disclosure statement. If within 2 years immediately preceding the filing of a rezoning application, a campaign contribution totaling $250 or more was made to a member of the Board of Commissioners. Additional information about this requirement is located on the table in the back of the room. And I want to remind applicants, opposition, or any interested party that information is due to this board the Wednesday prior to this hearing. Any information submitted after the Wednesday due date may or may not be considered by the board at their discretion. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to start the consent agenda.
Okay, hold on one second, please. Okay, so she's gonna, when we get to the consent agenda items for Commissioner Burrows, she has some additions to the stipulations. So if you look up at me, I'll make sure that we get amended in the record.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. Cobb County Board of Commissioners, zoning hearing consent agenda for September 17, 2019. Rezoning case Z48 of 2019, Saw Holdings LLC, request rezoning from NS to NRC for the purpose of an office, restaurants, and/or shopping center in land lot 228 of the 16th District. The property is located on the northeast corner of Ebenezer Road and Canton Road. The Planning Commission recommends deletion to the Ella Road zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Staff comments and recommendations, and inclusion on the consent agenda for the Board of Commissioners. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z48 of 2019? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
I just had a couple of things that I wanted to add to the stipulations from the Planning Commission, deleting it to LRO. The first one is the existing building must be up to county code and standards prior to issuing a CO. Number two, the location of the entrance driveway on Ebenezer is to be determined in plan review and approved by district commissioner. Number 3, the complaints of the light spilling over onto Ebenezer Road shall be addressed in plan review. And the vacant lot on Canton Road must come back to the district commissioner for approval of the site plan and elevations with notice to Canton Road neighbors. And then all other staff and planning commission comments and recommendations not otherwise in conflict.
Okay.
Do I need to ask him, do you want to come up here and? You have to get sworn in.
I'm not familiar with this, so you can tell.
Okay, I just want to make sure that you understand,
Yes, but as far as the parcel on the Canton Road, it has been addressed. It has been fulfilled by the county.
right, it will be
Department.
zoned LRO, but when you, if you put a building there, like an office or whatever, the site plan and the elevations have to come back to me for approval, not the full board,
For sure.
and that's all.
The second is on the office entrance itself.
Right.
So right now, what is it?
Well, right now, the existing entrance, we had some comments from DOT at Planning Commission about moving the entrance, but rather than require you to move the entrance now, when you go through plan review, that will be decided as to which entrance has the site distance and is the safest way to go.
But then this will change the whole thing of when we had the meeting, because
Well, plan review may
Septic
decide it
tank
can go where it is. That's up to plan review.
it has been, there is a plan, there is a permit already in place. All we're doing is the rezoning for that. So we've went through all that.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that needs to be addressed in plan review, and then it will come back to me as to what to approve.
Okay, all right,
So we can discuss it before I sign off on anything.
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Abbott.
Oh, no, not for you, sorry. Is Kevin here for other business 56? This is on consent item.
No, I just said, we're still on hers.
Oh,
I
okay,
had-
never mind, okay.
I have a question on this one. I was looking through the letters and everything. So he has agreed to donate the right-of-way to ensure the integrity of the Canton Trail?
I'm not sure if he's agreed to it. Chairman, it was in DOT comments, though.
Well, I mean, if he doesn't agree to it, then the trail doesn't go through there, and then the trail stops. So we gotta put in the stipulation that he has to agree to the right-of-way so we can preserve the integrity of the Canton Trail.
Can we show the GIS of where that is?
Are you using DOT staff recommendations?
I'm down,
Not otherwise in conflict.
I'm,
Do the staff comments and recommendations.
okay, all right, I just wanna make sure, that's all I'm saying.
Okay,
Well, thank you.
John,
I
can you
appreciate
show
bringing
us
that up.
where that is? Or,
Well, this is a DOT comment, Commissioner Burrow, so I would
Right.
assume it's along the Canton Road frontage.
All right,
But
Okay.
the way they have this worded is how every single zoning case is worded. You know, it recommends that the applicant
okay,
donate the right-of-way.
I see it here in the staff comments and recommendations. Okay, there we go.
okay. I don't think that was addressed in,
Yeah,
come back up here. I don't recall that being discussed in plan review, but, or was it? Because I just watched.
You'd have
them.
to ask DOT about that. They were at plan review.
Okay, Amy, can you come up? There's a DOT, Amy is with our DOT. There was a comment about you donating the right-of-way for the trail to go through there.
I need to see it in here.
Wow.
Right away.
Can you
Amy
tell?
Diaz, DOT. We actually have comments in there for them to donate right away on both Canton Road and on Ebenezer Road,
Right.
because both are too narrow for our current right-of-way standards. The trail, we asked her to coordinate with us to make sure what he puts in is compatible with our trail project.
And where's the trail on the map?
I believe it is just along the Canton Road frontage
Currently?
currently, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's in the recommendation, so,
It's in right of way. It's in, the trail, is the trail in the right of way?
but the recommendation was he had to donate 60 feet from the roadway center line. I just want to make
Correct.
sure he understands that that's going to impose on his property, and he can't build on that.
Right. And it's because of the width of the trail, and we need a certain distance behind the trail for maintenance, so it's all involved in that.
And that isn't being developed now. That, the portion fronting Canton Road has to come back for approval
Okay, all
to
right,
me. So,
okay.
I
Does it
still
mean
don't
this-
understand what's the trail, where is the trail that she's talking about?
along Canton Road, behind the sidewalk,
So she wants me, or they want me to donate 60 feet inside?
from the center line.
No,
Road.
the
Road.
60 feet is for the center line of Canton Road, so that double yellow line you see, we need 60 feet perpendicular to that line, which does go into your site, but it's not 60 feet into your site.
And what's the purpose of this?
Yes, I'm sorry, this is. we're on
Right
a
away
consent
for the
ag- aren't we on a
trail
consent
that's going
agenda?
through there.
This is,
So they're gonna go,
we're on
But it'll be
consent.
once
This is
it's
not-
developed.
still-
But it'll be when it comes back for development of that
For
site.
that parcel.
Commissioner Burrow, if,
I have the land, half of it is,
All right, this
so
doesn't,
if I give it, if we're donating that much in there.
we need to
the
move
acre's
this,
done.
we need to move this to regular. Clearly, he doesn't understand everything we've agreed to here. And we're not gonna vote on this.
I
and then we-
need to understand it.
So we're gonna put this on regular and talk about it fully. Because he doesn't understand, he doesn't even understand where the center line is or what we're gonna do for the trail.
I
It's very
understand
clear.
what the center line is, yes.
You understand it?
Yes, but why, that my question is why?
Well,
You're taking the business
it
my
doesn't
land.
matter. You either agree to it or you don't, all right? And if you don't, that means that this hasn't been fully vetted with your commissioner and it doesn't go to consent. So
So it's by
the
force?
purpose of consent is not to have a full-blown discussion. I'm not hearing that you're understanding what we're doing here, so we're gonna put this on regular so we can have this full-blown discussion, all right? This is not the appropriate approach for a consent agenda item. What I'm hearing from you is you don't understand why we're doing that. That tells me you don't agree to, you may not agree to everything we're doing here on consent. And I do not want to jeopardize what you're doing because you don't fully understand what we've agreed to here.
What I'm normally hearing from 26 feet from the center lane, why is it 60?
All right, we're moving this to consent. We're moving this to regular, okay?
I'll see if I can pull up the site plan for the Canton Road Trail. That would
Okay,
help.
thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir, Commissioner Rock.
Okay.
Are we done with that one?
No, yeah, we're gonna move this to regular and hear it all over again.
Yeah,
Okay.
please, because there's stuff that we
Okay,
didn't discuss.
we're gonna hear it, so you can, we're done with this for now. We're pulling it from consent and we will hear it later. So you'll just need to stay.
All right, now, what's the next consent agenda item? No, we have you read all the consent?
No, I just.
I didn't think so, yeah. This seems like it. All right, next one, John.
Okay, so we'll pull Z48 off consent and hear it on regular. Next case on consent is rezoning case Z54, K.L. Porter. Request rezoning from GC to NRC for the purpose of traditional neighborhood commercial retail in land lot 107 of the 16th district. The property is located on the west side of Alabama Road, north of Sandy Plains Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval to the NRC zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Site plan received by the zoning division on June 3rd, 2019, with district commissioner approving minor modifications. Neighborhood retail uses and professional office uses only. Variances as listed in the zoning comments and recommendations, stormwater management division comments and recommendations, and Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z54? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Did you have one more for that one, Commissioner?
No, it's OB 54 that I had a comment.
Okay, and
I'm
We
good
did,
with it.
and regarding this item we're on right now, Z54, we did get a request from the applicant yesterday to add one more permitted use besides neighborhood retail uses and professional offices. They also want to allow a clothing consignment shop also. So if the board's okay with that, we can amend the consent agenda to add the clothing consignment shop.
Does that not fit in the retail category?
It fits more in CRC than this, but this is a converted house that was an office. So it can't
I'm
be that.
okay with it, but I mean, I don't have time to hear comments from the public, but I don't think there's a issue with it.
Okay, we'll just leave that off then.
No, no, ma'am, I'm sorry. You know, boy, I tell you,
No,
these things are supposed to be
I
all,
think you're here for OB 37. That we're on OB 54, I mean Z 54.
okay.
Okay, so
So we'll just take that off.
what does staff recommend?
We just got it yesterday, we haven't had a chance to take a look at it, but a new clothing store is permitted in NRC. They want to do a clothing consignment shop, which is used clothing.
We had ample opportunity to add this till right up to now. So I don't see a reason to add this to the agenda item.
Okay, we'll just leave that off.
Just leave it off.
All right. Moving into other business items on consent, other business item number 44 of 2019 is to consider an amendment to the regulating plan for the Mapleton Form-Based Code for Catherine Lawrence regarding property located at the northwest intersection of Fontaine Road and Carroll Circle, in land lot 35 of the 17th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following condition: deletion of the request to a variance to the Transit Zone 3 metrics to allow townhouse-style units with the unit width shown, as shown on the site plan received June 6, 2019, with the district commissioner approving the final site plan. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 44? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Other business item number 50 of 2019 is to consider a site plan amendment for Michael Clark regarding rezoning application C70 of 2002 for property located on the east side of Paris Ferry Road, north of Doak Road, in land lot 868 of the 17th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Site plan contained in the other business packet received August 13, 2019, with the district commissioner approving minor modifications, and all previous stipulations not in conflict with this amendment to remain in effect. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 50? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Other business item number 52 of 2019 is to consider a stipulation amendment from Equity Companies regarding rezoning application Z38 and also SLUP 6 of 2018 for property located off a private easement on the northeast side of Paris Ferry Road and on the north side of Interstate North Parkway in land lots 1056 and 1057 of the 17th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the proposed elevations and sign package contained in the other business packet, and all previous stipulations not in conflict to remain in effect. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 52 of 2019? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Other business number 53 of 2019 is to consider a stipulation of site plan amendment for Hernan G. Guerrero regarding rezoning application Z47 of 2017 for property located on the west side of Harris Road, south of Smyrna Powder Springs Road, in land lot 91 of the 17th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions: maximum of 2 houses, with the district commissioner approving the final site plan and building architecture, water and sewer comments, stormwater management comments, Cobb DOT comments, and fire department comments. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 53? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
Excuse me, Chairman and John, we have a stipulation we'd like to add to other
Okay.
business item 53. Adam, if you can approach, please. Good morning. Yes, I understand there's a privacy fence stipulation that will be added for the neighbor at 3015 Favor Pines Court.
That's correct, Commissioner. We reached an agreement yesterday after discussions with them, and I've submitted that email for the record, but they're here and are in agreement with that as well.
Okay, very good. And I understand from your correspondence that you want to make sure that the comments in motion includes the August 7th 2019 site plan, and the variances listed on the site plan.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have a copy of that?
I do, and I've already provided it to the clerk.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kibita, if I could ask one question. On the fence, will it be installed prior to construction or upon completion of construction?
I prefer for the applicant to address
Okay.
that.
We're happy with either way. We just stipulated that we would provide a 6-foot privacy fence and let that be done through plan review, but whatever the commissioner prefers, we will accommodate.
I think it's fortunate that you're able to work with the neighbor, and so I think we can just base this on further discussion there. There's an understanding that that will be erected
Okay,
per this other business item.
that works for us. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Okay, other business item number 54 of 2019 is to consider a stipulation of site plan amendment for J.D. Espana regarding rezoning application Z53 of 2014 for property located on the northeast side of Steinauer Road, east of Trickham Road, in land lot 123 of the 16th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions: maximum of one house, site plan submitted with the other business application, with the district commissioner approving the final site plan and house elevation, water and sewer comments, stormwater management comments, and Cobb DOT comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 54? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
Okay. You added the site plan and elevations to come back.
Correct.
Okay, we're good. And all staff, planning commission, staff recommendation.
There was no
Not
planning
otherwise.
commission on this. This is other business.
Okay, just staff comment.
Yeah, this is staff comments in the other business packet.
Okay, we're
Okay.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other business item number 56 of 2019 is to consider a stipulation amendment for Waldron and Lee Dentistry LLC regarding rezoning application Z149 of 1998 for property located on the north side of Roswell Road, west of East Piedmont Road, in land lot 986 of the 16th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions: proposed sign elevation contained in the other business packet, and all previous stipulations not in conflict with this amendment to remain in effect. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 56? Let the record show there's no one opposed, and that concludes the consent agenda.
All right, hold on a minute, John.
Commissioner.
All right,
Arnold.
so, and I know this, the rest of the commissioners haven't seen this. It was a last-minute email trail between Kevin and Marvin Shams with the East Cobb Civic Association, and basically, there's a little bit of disagreement or question about how tall the sign's gonna be, and depending on the elevation. So what I'm gonna do is, the stipulation, John's gonna be, instead of how you say, based on the elevation that's in the packet, I'm gonna say a maximum of 16 feet above grade, with the final height to be determined by the district commissioner. Because the issue is, just for the fellow commissioners, there's a question of how tall it needs to be visible on Roswell Road, and the final grading has not really been determined. So, they're asking for 16 feet, whether or not it really needs to be 16 feet. I'll go out to the site and help determine it. So for right now, we'll put a maximum of 16 feet as depicted, with the final height of the sign to be determined by the district commissioner.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yes,
And I think that addresses what Marvin wanted to talk about.
it was. It did.
So,
It's what we
okay.
proposed as
Yep.
well, so thank you.
All right, with that, I move to approve the consent agenda as revised. Second, any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you. All those folks that are on consent are free to leave. And let's see.
There was a desire to continue case Z44, which is on our agenda to be heard.
Okay,
You can make a motion.
Chairman, if he can, approach, yes.
Yes, this has come up, and I've spoken with the folks that are here in attendance on a consensus for us to request a continuance of Z44. We have two specific issues that we've discussed that we're going to be working on over the next month, and they're aware of that and appreciate their consideration of allowing us to look at those two issues, meaning, one, the total number of homes and two, upgrading the elevations of and quality of the homes. And so we want to work on both of those issues and present the best plan we can. So I'm making that request for your consideration. Thank you.
And I'll let the
Thank
commissioner
you.
make that.
I appreciate that. Before I make my motion, I just want to address these which were distributed. In all my days being here, I've never seen anything in such poor taste. I have never seen anything in such poor, inappropriate adolescent taste. And if this is going to be a part of how persons want me to consider their perspective with respect to how we zone Z44, it does not work in your favor. So whoever is responsible for this, please make it plain that this is in poor taste for our audience. It runs for our commission. It runs completely counter to the spirit of collaboration of which I try to approach any zoning matter that comes to the district. And I would ask that you please not engage in any additional behavior like this again. I'm sorry, council, that you've had to even experience something like this. I'm sorry to commissioners, but this is just in absolutely poor taste.
Couldn't agree with you more, Commissioner. Thank you.
With that, I move that we continue Z44 to the next zoning hearing.
Second discussion? Call the question.
Thank you,
Passes
Commissioner.
5-0. Okay, Z26, right?
Yes, sir. Rezoning case Z26 of 2019, Brooks Chadwick Capital LLC, formerly Southern Land Partners LLC, request rezoning from GC to RM12 for the purpose of a townhome community in land lot 1067 of the 19th District. The property is located at the southeast corner of Austell Road in the Silver Common Trail, north of Sayes Road. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z26 of 2019? Please keep your hands raised.
Z26.
Let the record show there's 5 people here in opposition. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. On behalf of the applicant, which is the amended and revised applicant, Brooks Chadwick LLC, in this application for rezoning, we want to present to you a revised plan. Since this case was held from the prior presentation, if you recall, this property, which is 8.7 acres, is located on Austell Road, right where the Silver Comet Trail passes under Austell Road. You'll see on the site plan that's on the screen right now and on your board, that's the prior site plan. That's what was presented to you at the prior hearing. This site plan proposes a total of 65 townhomes. You as the commissioners heard this case, heard that this property is currently zoned, the entirety of this 8.7 acres is zoned general commercial. It is also, though, located in a neighborhood activity center on your future land use plan. And there was certainly some discussion amongst the board members that this proposed plan was not one that was receiving favor, and it was held for us to go back and see if we could do something different. So we are able to present to you today that not only has the applicant changed to Brooks Chadwick LLC, which is one of our preeminent developers here in Cobb County, who has partnered again with Ashton Woods Homes to present a revised proposal for your consideration. If we could do the next site plan. And what you see with this following site plan is that substantial and significant change to what is being proposed. for this 8.7 acres that's zoned general commercial. I'm going to step over there, but first and foremost, it's a reduction from the proposal of 65 homes to a total of 43 homes. So a huge reduction in the proposed number of homes, which also brings the density of this proposal under 5 units per acre. So now this is a townhome project being proposed at 4.9 units per acre. And why is that significant? Because once you become under 5 units per acre in a neighborhood activity center, that recommendation from a land use plan standpoint is something that recommends up to 5 units per acre in a neighborhood activity center. So it's significant not only in the scope and size of the reduction that's being proposed, but significant also in terms of, from a density level, bringing it into consistency with the future land use plan. A few of the critical points or highlights of this particular site plan. Again, this is Austell Road, and this is the Silver Comet Trail. The primary aspect here is now we have a large open space park area that will be a part of this community. It includes a walking trail with connectivity to the Silver Comet Trail, which is a very important aspect. Also important for this large area here is it will be left largely in its natural state. Obviously we have a stormwater pond here, but of critical importance is this portion of the property is what's really adjacent to existing properties and residential properties along our southern boundary here and eastern boundary here. What we were able to do also that we had been asked to look at, and that is actually to be able to designate an area that would be undisturbed, not simply stating that our intent is to have most of this remain natural, but actually designate an undisturbed buffer. And so what we were able to do, we were asked about a 20-foot undisturbed buffer. We're actually able to install a 50-foot undisturbed buffer along this southern boundary, which would be an additional stipulation that's not included in our stipulation letter of September 11th. But that would be a 50-foot undisturbed buffer along the southern boundary from this point, extending 340 feet to the west. So from our standpoint, that's a significant stipulation and commitment that exceeds by more than double what even we have been asked to look at. And so I think that's very important from that standpoint, as well as knowing that now this area entirely is not of proposed homes, but is now a green space park area here. Keeping in mind too that any other type of residential development, if you broke this out into single family homes, then this, for example, this area would then be taken up by homes and by lots and be developed, as opposed to being set aside as a park area for the community. In addition, I did want to put for your review also is the proposed townhomes themselves. And just to talk a little bit about the quality of what is being proposed by Ashton Woods here. This is a location in general. If you take a step back and look at the area in general, has not seen new residential development in many, many years, probably 2 decades worth of non-new residential development of the type and quality that's being proposed here in this location. This area is in need of new residential development and in need of quality to be placed here. When you bring to this area the reputations and integrity that you have associated with Brooks Chadwick and Ashton Woods, I believe that that also speaks volumes about what they see as the potential for the quality of residential homes and residential development and community for this particular area. When you take an even bigger look around and up and down Austell Road at this location, and if we could turn to that overall GIS map as well, what you'll see in this particular area is that it's dominated along the frontage of Austell Road with a variety of commercial, LRO, NRC, GC categories, both south of the Silver Comet Trail and north of the Silver Comet Trail. And that's not unexpected. It's typical for what you can see or expect to see along one of our older corridors. But in addition, what you'll see and notice is that there is R20 zoning, but there's also FST 10, which is townhomes, 10 units to the acre, just on the north side of the Silver Comet Trail, as well as other office and institutional uses that are fronting along Austell Road. The point I'm making here is that What we are proposing now with a category, reduced category of RA5 with a maximum of 4.9 units per acre or 43 homes, now from a category standpoint and a density standpoint, is consistent with the density or intensity of this area along Austell Road. It acknowledges what is to our south and to our east by having a site plan that includes a large area of park and green space. It acknowledges it by agreeing to a 50-foot undisturbed buffer along that southern boundary where it, for 340 feet, but also allows for quality new residential development at what is an extremely low density for a townhome development. With that, we think that this proposal now not only meets from a density standpoint with the land use plan, acknowledges that this property is actually still zoned general commercial, but also presents what we think is consistency and compatibility for the Austell Road corridor, and also recognizing and acknowledging that you do have R20 tracks to our south and east. We feel like this is a great balance and one that was achievable only because Brooks Chadwick and Ashton Woods were able to come together and do this project at this level and reduced level of density. And we think that was outstanding on their behalf to try to make this happen as a compromise position from what was being proposed before and the discussion that had been had previously by the board. With that, we have the principals of Brooks Chadwick and Ashton Woods that are here, can answer any questions that I might not be able to, and we respectfully request your approval of this rezoning application to the revised category of RA5 with our stipulation letter dated September 11th that ties this to the specific site plan and the additional stipulation that I presented here today of that 50-foot undisturbed buffer along the southern boundary for 340 feet. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, for those in opposition, you'll, remember you have 10 minutes, so get coordinated among yourselves, make sure you each have appropriate time to make your comments.
Good morning. My name is Charlotte Sweetland. I live in the community just to the south of that. As you know, we've been opposed to the density that was previously laid out, and we still would love the R20 designation that we discussed the last time we were all here. However, I did want to thank Mr. Moore and the developer for coming back with a plan that is more in keeping with the land use. And I appreciate Commissioner Cupid's input on this previously. If you are leaning towards approval today, which I'm not suggesting you should, but if you are, I would like to add a couple points. Oh, and I do appreciate the increased buffer, and to the point they could leave that land undisturbed would probably greatly benefit our neighbors, the Gosses, because they're the most immediate neighbor to this. I know they're intending to put and I'm jumping ahead assuming that you all are inclined to approve, but if you are, in any HOA agreement, or a declaration of covenants, I would appreciate if you would limit the amount of rental units that could be in this facility, because if it's not stipulated, the ownership can rent their condos and it can turn into an apartment community, which would not be beneficial for us. I think that's all I had. I'm going to cede the rest of the time to the folks who are going to be most impacted by this development, our neighbors, the Gosses.
Thank you.
My name's John Turner, and I'm opposed to this the way it's set up because I'm definitely against what I call row houses. They're made connected together. They have no distance between the houses. It is not the type of houses that are in the area that we live in. They, on this new thing, they're showing that they're only using 2/3 to put houses on the 8.6 or 8.7 parcels of acreage. And the last part of it is in the very back side with a retention pond that has no water flow. And the mosquito problem, as bad as it has been this year, can only be aggravated by that particular pond put in back there without a water flow, without some kind of special treatment. The point that I'm getting to is that if you take the 2/3 of the front part of the property and you put the houses there, suggesting to go in there, you're talking about 8 houses per acre, somewhere in that neighborhood. What is to say that as soon as they get this built, they're gonna say, well, we need to add a little bit more houses in here and do away with the area back in the back side? And we're gonna just take and build some more houses back there. Do they have to come before y'all to get approval? Or is this just automatic, they just start building back there in the back? The other thing is that when I see houses that are connected together like this on this map here, on the pretty picture that we've got, it shows that they're separated, but in actuality, they're not. Theoretically, I think they are built on one foundation of concrete that's poured for the 7 or 6, 5 houses that are connected together. And there's no walk space in between the houses, only except when you've got 5 in one group, and there's a small walk space, and then you got 5 in another group. The only thing that I can agree is that when they first started this thing, they wanted 70 to 80 houses in here. And we fought it, and they finally said, no, we can't do any more than 60. Now it's 43. I personally think that you need to sort of look at this thing, needs to be as it, if the people that buy the houses that are condos that's gonna be in this thing, is to make it to where they feel like that they are living in a area that's a little opened and not just butted up together like they've got down there on Maxim Road right below 278. They start from the top of the hill and go all the way to the bottom of the hill, butted up together there in Austell. And they've just been built. And it just looks like a particular section that would be a ghetto one day. It just looks like it would be. Now, the other thing is that, are these houses gonna be able to, somebody to say, all right, we're gonna buy them, but we're gonna rent them out? That's one thing that I'm asking about. And the other thing is that if this is gonna be built and okayed, even though with the 50-foot buffer that they've got, that they've agreed to, is there still gonna be a privacy fence? And basically, that has been my questions about this, and it's been sort of bandied about that what they were gonna do. So that's my opinion of the thing. And I'm still agreeing with the commissioners on the R20. And so I'm sorry that that's what I have to do, but that's what I feel like it needs to be done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Sharon Goss, and I live on the adjoining property. I think our concern from the very beginning has been that this was a high-density development, and it was recommended denial from the get-go. I know there was a lot of discussion at the last meeting, and I think the consensus of the board was that this property is really not conducive with the surrounding area to be a high-density or a higher-density development for townhomes or condominiums. I know Commissioner Cupid, you stated last time that the area surrounding us is 1.75, I believe, to 1.85 per acre. And so all of you indicated that this kind of community, a condominium community or townhome community, is not really fitting for this area because this community is single-family. Yes, the density has come down, but Mr. Moore said last time that the previous proposal could not drop below the 63 or 65, whichever it was, proposal, or it would result in less quality. Now, this has dropped below that, so what are we looking at as far as quality? Because it's the same builders, it's the same property. So that's a question. And Commissioner Ott, you pointed out that even 5 was excessive for this community because the majority of the property does border R20. So that's where we stand as a community and as those who live bordering this property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Helen Goss. I'm the oldest. I live on the property behind. And I want to first commend the commissioners, especially those last time we went back and reviewed the meeting. And it's not flattery, it's commending you, how you felt sympathetic toward us with the density. And as my daughter said, it is not in companion with our neighborhood. But my concern that I have come with this morning is that I'm a mother and a young teenager coming out of that division, going to South Cobb High School, having to turn left there, and how they think they're invincible and they're reckless. Maybe they're good drivers, but there could be terrible wrecks. And so I have a heart for that, and I would not want that to be on our conscience. And I also thank you for looking out after your constituents, because we, the people, are looking at you, and we thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Goss. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition? Okay, Commissioner Cupid.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to thank everyone who's here today, the applicant and the residents, as we've been dealing with this case for several months. And it has gone through a lot of iterations to get to this point here today. In opposition, there were a number of questions that were raised, and I would like to get some of those addressed prior to providing my motion. So the first one I would like to address is with stormwater. And if we can have your approach, please.
Dave Braden with the Stormwater Management
Good
Division.
morning.
Good morning.
Dave. Yes. There was a comment made about the detention pond and it being a breeding ground for mosquitoes. Can you address that?
I believe the comment was made was that there's not a lot of drainage area going to where the pond would be, and that would contribute, because there wouldn't be enough water to support it, that would contribute to mosquitoes. But it's not going to be a permanent pool pond. It is strictly a stormwater facility that would hold water for during the rain event and then drain dry. So it's not going to be a permanent pool facility.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Any others?
I just have one question. With the reduction in the townhomes, originally it was 70-something, 65, and now
Right.
43. What does that do to the impervious surface with the green space added? Because the original proposal had a variance for.
This is the first time I've seen the plan, so I'm not sure
impervious.
what the number would be, but my guess is the impervious is probably close to or less than what the underlying zoning is. So
Yeah.
from a stormwater perspective, it's not
45%.
an issue, yeah.
Because of the green space.
Right.
If nothing else.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I was just saying that, that would take that variance away that they had initially with the larger.
well, one thing
Number.
that they were doing is, we've dealt with this with other cases on Austell Road, that this is a state route, and the road was developed without any stormwater facilities being put there to accommodate the drainage from Austell Road. So we've had other communities that have been susceptible to flooding or increased stormwater because of lack of facilities. And it's my understanding from the applicant, Mr. Moore, that this detention pond would actually help to provide additional stormwater protection for residents that are downstream from the property that had no protection before.
Right, the existing subdivision that's there to the right, which I believe is where, I think the Gosses are in the larger parcel, but that is an older development, not a lot of stormwater management infrastructure there. And one of our stipulations was to make sure that the portion of the site that did drain through that development gets sent to the pond and directed to the Silver Comet Trail, which is where the rest of the site goes. So they'll be addressing that as well.
So there has been actually some interest from the other community to see additional stormwater facilities here, which this would add. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Another point I wanted to share is that in the Planning Commission meeting, that there was a stipulation that was included to provide that no more than 10% of the rental property, of the units would be available for rent. So that is already tied in here. And going back to this Planning Commission's reasoning and their suggestion for this site to become suburban condominium, the current zoning of this site is general commercial, which is a grandfathered zoning here. So because it's grandfathered and it can no longer be developed as general commercial, that this site is coming before us to provide a zoning category that could actually be developed upon here. Looking at the general commercial category, the future land use map, which says that this site could be developed as a neighborhood commercial site, looking at the surrounding commercial that abuts Austell Road, it was not unreasonable for the applicant to come before us and ask for more commercial development on Austell Road. And in the past, when we've had cases here, I've had people come out in opposition to different types of commercial here on Austell Road. It's an older corridor. A lot of it was developed GC, and there's just a poor pattern of development along Austell Road, which is why over the past year, we've put together design guidelines to better address the quality of commercial on Austell Road. Here before us was an application not for commercial, but for residential, which is a diminished land use category, or has diminished intensity in that land use category than commercial. However, I did agree during that initial analysis that the intended density of 8 units per acre was still very high for this community. And Galt Porter, who serves on the Planning Commission for District 4, acknowledged that as well. His recommendation that was permitted under the NAC, which you see here, was for there to be up to 5 units per acre. And I've seen the Gosses at many of my monthly meetings, and we've continued to talk about 5 units per acre, nothing more than 5 units per acre. And if I gave any word to the Gosses, it would be that I would not approve anything above 5 units per acre. And so that became our bar, that we wanted to see that density come down. Now, when we came to the Board of Commissioners meeting where Z26 was first deliberated amongst commissioners, again, they did not support the units being above 5 units per acre. And there was concern about the neighborhood the neighboring residential, which is at R20. But me knowing Alsto Road and looking at the map, I knew that that would not be fair towards the applicant because Alsto Road is a commercial corridor primarily. So to put R20 on Alsto Road would, for one, be unreasonable for residents that have to live on Alsto Road when it's a high-traffic commercial corridor. Also, R20 is just plainly uncharacteristic of the dominant uses on Alsto Road. So when I left last week's meeting, I asked the applicant to please, consider some options to look at decreasing the density to the 5 units per acre, or to look at putting commercial in the, what is it? That's west. On the western portion of the property, and then on the eastern portion, let's look at residential and perhaps single family. Today, I think we have moderation of that to not even consider commercial, but to come back to the Planning Commission's original recommendation, which the GOSSA said in my monthly meetings that you were supportive of GALT for limiting the density to 5 units per acre. So I'm very much inclined to support that, not only because the applicant has done a lot of work to get that original density down to 5 units per acre, but because this has been the original goal, was to get that units down to 5 units per acre. I think it's also reasonable for the applicant to pull the residential property away from where you see the houses built on the Goss's property, so that the uses that are north of it are going to be passive. It's going to have a trail, and they provided they'll maintain an undisturbed landscape buffer, which is going to be at 50 feet, which is not required between both of those residential, or between the residential category that they're requesting. And yes, as was stated, by pulling up the residential units closer to Alsto Road, it does increase that density closer to Alsto Road. But again, adding that intensity to where there are already intense commercial uses seems more reasonable than having it spread throughout the entire property and being closer to where there's other single-family units. There was a question about whether or not there'd be a fence in the buffer, and that's something that I'm unsure of, that I'd like to ask the applicant if they would be willing to consider. Yes.
Sure. On a fence, having a wooden privacy fence along that entire length becomes a maintenance obligation, for the future HOA. And our concern is you don't get quality at the end of the day with that, or certainly not long-term quality with a privacy wooden fence, especially now that we're doing a undisturbed buffer.
Okay.
And further landscape buffer as well. We can, if we were gonna do some type of fence, it would have to be one of those aluminum type fences that has long-term maintenance to it, that comes, that you don't have to maintain it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We just think a wooden privacy fence would not add, it would just take away from the quality.
And that metal fence wouldn't add to the aesthetic quality of the site, and with there only being 43 units now you're looking at 43 people maintaining a fence.
Correct.
Along there, which could be.
We've just never seen good long-term maintenance of wooden privacy fences like that, especially behind an undisturbed buffer.
Okay. And then there was a question about quality that Ms. Goss stated that there were some assertions made that if there were more units, that you could develop at a certain quality, and now decreasing the number of units would impact that. Can you address that, please?
Certainly. That was a different applicant in a different context, and frankly, a different contract that was at that time. Once the comments had been made at the prior hearing, That applicant, as we stated, could not go forward at less than what was being proposed. What was done, though, is the property owner and Ashton Woods and Brooks Chadwick, and primarily Brooks Chadwick, came in and was able to put this particular project and deal in place at this level, which is an entirely different project, as you can see, but it had nothing to do with the quality of being proposed. He was still able to partner with Ashton Woods to present and provide for this level of quality. And Brooks Chadwick as a developer and Ashton Woods as a home builder have partnered on numerous other occasions here in Cobb County to produce outstanding developments, and think they can do, and certainly believe they will do so here.
Commissioner Cupid, I have a suggestion for you. Obviously, the applicant's gonna have to agree, but one of the things that, the two things that in District 2 that we look at with townhomes is the size, okay? Sometimes they're a little bit larger in District 2, but that's because they're 3 stories. These are only 2 stories. But the other thing is, there are stipulations that I've put in the past, for example, hardwoods, engineering hardwoods, or luxury vinyl plank for the floors, hard surface countertops, polished metal fixtures in the kitchens and the bathrooms, and then ceramic tile. All of those add to the quality and kind of ensure a higher price point. So, to address some of the concerns about the quality, if the applicant were to agree to some of those items, you immediately improve the quality of the product.
Is the applicant amenable to that list that was stated?
Do you want me to restate what I said?
Yes.
All
Just make sure.
right.
I believe so.
So the floors would be either hardwoods, engineered hardwood, or luxury vinyl plank, hard surface countertops, some ceramic tile in the bathrooms, and polished metal fixtures for the bathrooms and kitchen.
Yes, those would be agreeable.
Did the clerk get those? That was, okay.
Yes. And in addition, the 10% rental limitation is likewise agreeable. That was certainly,
Yes.
when I wanted to state that, I told that to Ms. Sweetland, and I just want to make sure that I stated that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this plan has come a long way.
Yes.
As was stated before, the development before had long rows of just townhomes that just seemed to be jammed into that site. And I remember specifically referring back to other zonings being heard that day and looking at their layout, that they better facilitated a sense of community. And I think that this is certainly a much better layout to foster that. It is a significant improvement, and I just want to thank the applicant for, again, this change that's here today. Again, I'm inclined to approve this today, particularly considering that what's being proposed is in line with the future land use map. That is the intended future land use for this parcel, which would facilitate up to 5 units per acre under suburban condominium. What I would like to do, however, is to delete this zoning case instead to suburban condominium to RA5, which would still provide up to 5 units per acre. I'd also like to add in the stipulations that were provided by the applicant on September 11th, to refer back to the Planning Commission minutes, except striking the second stipulation. This was dated June 4th, 2019. Again, it keeps in the site plan, elevations, and landscape plans still need to come back before, excuse me, I need to change that actually. I'll change the first stipulation as well, that elevations and landscape plan are to come back before the District 4 Commissioner. I presume there are no variances on this plan? Well, I'll just strike that. Strike that there is to be a fence on the southern and eastern property line. Maintain that there to be no more than 10% of the units to be rental. And also keep that there is to be a mandatory homeowners association. I'd like to include the list of conditions that were shared by Commissioner Ott regarding some of the, excuse me, improvements on the inside of the townhome. And maintain all other staff comments and recommendations not otherwise in conflict.
Second. Any other discussion? Call the question. Passes 4-1 with the chairman in opposition. Okay.
The Z48. Rezoning case Z48, 2019, Saw Holdings LLC request a rezoning from NS to NRC for the purpose of an office, restaurants, indoor shopping, or a shopping center in land lot 228 of the 16th District. Property is located on the northeast corner of Ebenezer Road and Canton Road. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z48? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Will the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
I just want to make sure he understands about the right-of-way. All right, sir. I just want to make sure that we understand that the right-of-way,
I'm okay with the right of way.
okay. So you understand 64 feet from the center line of the road
Yes.
to your property?
Yes, the
Okay.
only two comments that in the same application, there was a land split between the acre on Canton Road. And there is an existing easement from this land to Canton Road. That's number one. So I don't want to lose that at all. And then, especially if they're separated. The other one, when I talked to the DOT, they recommended that it's gonna be right in, right out from same existing exit from the Ebenezer office. And I'm okay with that. So as long as we have these stipulations, and I'm fine with it.
Commissioner Burrow?
Okay. You met with Amy and Ms. Brown while we were,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. The only thing I want to be clear on is Amy's suggestion of moving the entrance on Ebenezer. As long as the existing entrance is right in, right out only, we're good, correct? Okay, so we'll just, I guess, make that, add that to the stipulations of right in, right out only on Ebenezer, and you can keep the existing entrance on Ebenezer,
And the one in Canton as
right?
well. And the one in Canton as well. That's already there. And land split will not allow anything. That would be the
Does
only
that meet
access.
sight distance, Amy? The one on Canton? Because that's really, that's a gravel entrance that you made for the
It
construction.
has been, no, it has been, and that's in my papers in my deeds, when I bought the property.
Amy, is that a permanent entrance on Canton? Or
I'm
can
not certain
be.
if it's a permanent entrance, but we did discuss that as well in the hallway. It does not have 250 feet of spacing from the signal, so again, there will be turn restrictions. What exactly those are, we might be able to allow the left in and just restrict the left out, but that needs to be discussed further with traffic operations and plan review.
In plan review, okay.
So that's something that we can work out. He's aware that we are going to be looking at restrictions because of the proximity to the signal.
Okay, and you're good with that?
Yes.
And
Okay.
a decel lane or large turn radius or something as well.
Okay. All right, so do we want to move it back to consent or just vote on it now?
We'll vote on it now.
Okay.
Call it.
Okay, I may make a motion to approve Z48, deleting it to LRO with the conditions read in before and the right in, right out only on Ebenezer and the Canton Road entrance restrictions to be determined at plan review.
We have a second. Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you, and thank you, Amy, and thank you, Carol, for working with the applicant as well.
And thank you, sir, for staying a little bit longer.
Thank you.
Okay. Rezoning case Z64, Cobb County Board of Commissioners, request rezoning from R20 to NRC for the purpose of NRC permitted uses in land lot 470 of the 19th district. The property is located on the northeast intersection of Ernest Barrett Parkway and Malkin Road. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z64? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the county's representative please come forward, be sworn in?
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Jessica Gwynn, Cobb County Community Development. This is actually a rezoning that we brought to you earlier this summer, not as a rezoning, but to have you all authorize the chairman to execute the rezoning application on behalf of the county. This is 1.48 acres at the corner of Mackland Road and Barrett Parkway. The county owns the property. The Property Advisory Board has declared the property surplus. Given the property's location, as you see, it's currently zoned R20. We're seeking to rezone the property to NRC, which is in line with the future land use designation, as well as the location at this major intersection and some of the other surrounding zonings in the area. So at this point, there is no plan for the site. There is no user. The sole intent here is to rezone the property prior to the county putting this property on the market. So I'm glad to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, motion to approve.
I just have.
Well, I want to have discussion, I just want to. Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. It was county property, it's county property, that's the only reason I was going to make, but I'll defer to you, I'm fine with that. I apologize.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. And I'd like to make a few comments regarding this case after the Planning Commission. Many not realize and appreciate the Planning Commissioner's work that strengthens the transparency of the publicly focused rezoning process. I personally appreciate the work and dedication to our Cobb County that our Planning Commissioners display each month during the public hearing process. We are fortunate to have such qualified and passionate members on the Planning Commission when they consider various factors and a variety of rezoning requests, which results in recommendations being brought forward to this board for consideration. The county has specific policy guidelines as to the steps to be taken by the Property Advisory Commission prior to placing surplus property for sale. This rezoning application is for county-owned property which has been declared as surplus property. Mackland Road and Barrett Parkway is a major intersection in West Cobb and allows traffic from neighboring counties to access I-75. Commissioner Cupid and I are very cognizant about this intersection, for it straddles both our districts. I believe we should be extremely mindful of not only this process, but ultimately the sale and future development of this parcel, which will enhance our communities. I support declaring this property as surplus and the proposed rezoning request, which will result in the future sale of this property as being in the best interest of the citizens in Cobb County. Therefore, I would like to make a motion to approve Z64 with the Planning Commission recommendations, except for stipulation number 1, as it contains a procedural conflict, and replace it with the following. Site plan and use to be brought forward as other business before the Board of Commissioners for approval. With that, I'd like to make my motion.
And Commissioner Ott seconds that. Any other comments?
Just a slight request. Can we get those trees moved from District 1 over to District 4? There's some beautiful trees on that property. You can just move it right across the street. It'll look great.
Oh, I thought you wanted to harvest them and get the proceeds. Okay, all right, I call the question. Passes 5-0. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you all.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Board. The first item on today's other business agenda is item number 37, which is to consider a stipulation of site plan amendment for Geneva Roswell LLC regarding rezoning application Z34 of 2001. The property is located on the southwestern side of Highway 92, north of Sandy Plains Road, and land lots 38, 39, and 107 of the 16th District. By way of background, the property was rezoned to NRC and R15 in 2001 for commercial development, subject to numerous stipulations. The anchor tenant at that time was a fitness user, and the fitness user has vacated the property, and the applicant would like to amend the stipulations and the site plan to allow neighborhood retail uses in that part of the vacant building. The old LA Fitness space would be subdivided into 2 spaces or maybe more, with the fitness uses going on one side and neighborhood retail uses going on the other. As part of the redevelopment, the applicant would like to amend paragraph number 10 in the stipulation letter to allow a truck dock for a future retail user. Lastly, the applicant would like to install a ground-based monument sign at the signalized intersection to help identify the users in the shopping center. The sign would meet the sign code, and if approved, all previous conditions would remain in effect. The staff would ask the Board of Commissioners to conduct a public hearing and consider the proposed stipulation of site plan amendment. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to this item? Please raise your hand. Let the record show we have 1 person opposed. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
I don't get that offended.
Good morning again, Mr. Moore.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Kevin Moore here on behalf of Geneva Roswell, who's the owner of this shopping center located on Sandy Plains, just north of Sandy Plains Road on 92 at Alabama Road. Mr. Peterson did a good job of explaining what we're requesting. When this was initially rezoned many years ago, there was a stipulation included that prohibited having a loading dock. But at that time, there was not one needed. It was stipulated that it would be a fitness center use only for a portion of the shopping center. That was the LA Fitness, and that's what was built there and lasted for a very long time. Unfortunately, LA Fitness left some many months ago. What's been able to be determined through a lot of effort on their behalf to go in there, because you don't want to have it as dark space, certainly, is there is a Planet Fitness Center that will be going into 20,000 of the 40,000 square feet that's at issue here. It's just the remaining 20,000 that their interest level to anybody that has come forward from a retail standpoint is that it will need to be some other type of neighborhood retail use for that additional 20,000 square feet. But in each and every instance, a loading dock was necessary for those purposes in order to have a user of 20,000 square feet and a retail user. Without having a loading dock, there was simply no interest despite their efforts. And so with that, that's why we're requesting this change. But we've also, through this effort, have met with the neighborhood residents that certainly showed up a month ago, and we said, listen, let's go meet with these folks again. And we met with them, and at least for a good number of them, we're able to reach an accord, able to reach a consensus, and that was embodied in our September 11th stipulation letter, where the applicant agreed to put in some additional items to address the issues of a loading dock, meaning the noise associated with that. And let me start here and kind of tell the story of where this is and who's affected and what they were able to do and agree to as part of that. First, just looking at the overall map, this is the shopping center. But the particular area we're talking about is right here of this shopping center. Please note as well that when this was originally rezoned, the property we're talking about is not just this NRC parcel. The property is originally rezoned, it adjoins that subdivision, and you see this parcel that's zoned R15. That was zoned R15 at the time as a R15 buffer. So all of this area is an undisturbed R15 tract that is a permanent buffer. So that this is a long distance and a lot of area that is undisturbed to the rear of the shopping center, and that was done as part of the original rezoning, but it certainly provides some context as going forward. Now turning to the actual site plan itself, and this gives you some perspective now when you think about where the area we're talking about for a new loading dock would be here on this end of the shopping center. In this location right here is where we're proposing for that truck dock or loading dock to be. As part of our work with the adjoining residents that we met with, we also agreed, and it's in our stipulation letter, that it will be an inset or enclosed dock, and I want to kind of just show you how that works. The inset is such that you have a small new dock area here and an interior ramp. And what that means is that the activity takes place on the interior. The truck simply would be able to back up to the dock, and then it's unloaded from the interior. So that's an inset loading dock or truck dock, and that's included in our stipulations as well. One of the more important stipulations that from our standpoint as well is because the idea or the concern was the noise. In essence, if you have a truck dock and you have the trucks that come to unload there, then they're going to be coming around to the rear, and that adds noise that's not there currently, or on top of the noise that is there currently, because the remaining of this center does not have that restriction, has no restrictions, and there's plenty of trucks that come in and out, but this would be a noise concern. So what we've agreed to do, ready for this? You may have to back up a little bit. And this is also in our stipulation letter. As part of this, and it's included in our letter, is an agreement to install approximately 250 feet of acoustifence, and that's a specific brand and information that was provided to the residents along this particular area here, stretching from where the existing fencing on the detention pond and along this area here, because this would be the path of those trucks in the shortest amount of distance. Acoustifence is a sound barrier type of fence, specific and has specific and is called out for the specifics for its specifications on sound barrier and sound mitigation devices. So that's the type of fence, 250 feet of that would be maintained by the owner in perpetuity to, again, help with and mitigate the noise concerns there, which is in addition to, as I said before, this permanent buffer area of undisturbed buffer area that surrounds the center there. So again, that's specifically placed to add to that so that, again, we're specifically addressing the noise concern that had been raised with us. In addition, we wanted to address a couple of other things that had been brought to our attention. Number one was we further restricted the hours for delivery and garbage trucks for collection of garbage and refuse. So we further limited that than what it is currently as part of our efforts to address the issues that have been identified to us, as well as agreed to work with Jefferson Township Subdivision and further look at and modify the rear lighting so that that lighting can be done to provide just security only and make sure that we can't do additional measures with the lighting in the rear to bring down glare or light pollution extending. And so also we have agreed with them to do that as well, and we'll work with them to reduce any further light pollution that we can. The proposal with these stipulations, and as we've shown here, we believe is one that acknowledges the new retail world that we are in today, allows this retail property to move forward, but in a reasonable manner. It's one that, yes, there was a stipulation made some many years ago. We don't want to be here asking to change it, but the realities of the retail economies now are forcing us and force our hands to do that. But in recognition of that, this owner, though, has taken productive, substantial steps to address the issues that have been raised associated with noise by agreeing to a sound barrier fence, as well as further restricting hours for garbage and delivery trucks, as well as the other stipulations that were mentioned here in this list. And in so doing, really addressed what we think by and large were the majority of those that had originally shown interest or concern or opposition that showed up here last month. And they have agreed with us in the reasonable approach that's been put in here. And given that, we think, again, this is an excellent opportunity for, even though a stipulation is being requested for revision or modification, it's not coming without the owner instituting its own measures that cost it money and significant measures to address those concerns in a different manner. With that, I'm here as well as representatives of the owner to answer any questions you may have, and we respectfully request your approval subject to the September 11th stipulation letter, which contains the items that I've described for you here today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any others in support? Seeing none, those in opposition?
Hello, my name is Marcia Minton, and I'm asking you to deny this request for the stipulation changes to OB 34. The property in question is on Alabama Road. It backs right up to my property. I live at 4690. I am the corner. The owners have stated that they would put in a fence, but it does not continue to my property. That's because they don't own that part, but I understand that. But it does not benefit me. I will still see the in and out and hear more of the trucks going in and out. And that's why I'm opposing that.
Where's your, there's a buffer behind the building, so I'm trying to figure out where you live.
Down in the corner, far corner.
Can you move the GIS up a little bit?
Oh.
Keep going.
I'm down in the corner.
She's
4690. Yeah,
Monticello Circle,
right.
but you don't have the addresses on here. I think she's.
One other
where
one
the
did.
R-15 is
Yeah.
up at the corner.
I'm down in there.
Okay.
The buffer is there. It has been left there. It is a gully.
Can you
It
put
is
the
not.
numbers on here? There's still, the R-15 buffer does, well, let me let you finish because it's your time. Go ahead and finish, Ms. Hunt.
I'm just asking, they have promised a fence. I thought the fence was also going to go way in the back. He didn't start it where I thought it was going to be. And I just am asking you to deny this because I don't want more. There is a lot of noise coming from the road and a lot of noise coming from back there. And when the trucks enter and exit, it will be passing by my property. And these are all deciduous trees, so they lose their leaves. Thank you very much.
Okay. Cornish, could you run the map back down? I'm just trying to make sure I know on the site plan where the ramp's gonna go on the building. It's gonna go in the back right there, right? Okay, I just wanna make sure. All right, thank you, ma'am.
I'm on the other side.
Right,
Yeah, you're down below. the
okay,
R-15.
thank you. All right, John, what's the staff's recommendation?
Mr. Chairman and Board, the staff would recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the request, subject to the letter from Kevin Moore dated September 11th, 2019, which includes the site plan, water and sewer comments, and all previous conditions not in conflict to remain in effect.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Burrow?
Thank you. Okay, when this first came in, there was other opposition to the loading dock. And when this was originally zoned, there was a step that there would be no loading dock, and I understand that. And so I asked the applicant's attorney to meet with the neighbors that were in opposition to see what their concerns were. And he did that. There are two gentlemen on Nawada Drive that were opposed. And after the meeting, they are in agreement and are not here. And have sent me the stipulations that were agreed upon, which are in Mr. Moore's stip letter. So, if you could, if you look on the map where below the yellow line, at the R15, that wooded lot, Ms. Minton is where the 16-107 number is. That's your house. That's her house. So, that R15 is a vacant lot and it is wooded. The R15 strip does go, at the top end here, where the cursor, where the hand is, go up a little bit. That's the R15 strip. And then all the way around. The loading dock is up here on the, opposite corner from her, and really is closer to the Nawada Drive residents that were originally opposed. And the acoustic fence and the improvements, the loading dock is now gonna be unloaded inside the building. So I don't see an impact there. So there is one thing I just want to make clear in your stip letter, Mr. Moore, number 3, where you have changed trash collection and delivery hours. I'd like to make that a little more clear so that it's delivery hours to the dock and trash collection hours. Just to make it clear that it's not delivery of the dumpster or trash collection. So I would like for that to read, hours for deliveries at dock are to be 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and hours for trash collection are to be 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Are you agreeable to that? Just clarifying it, okay. So, with that, I understand Ms. Minton's concerns, but I don't really see the impact to her property. So with that, I'd like to make a motion that we approve other business 37, subject to the stip letter dated and site plan dated September 11th from Mr. Moore, and the adjustment just made to stip number 3, and all planning commission and staff recommendations and comments not otherwise in conflict.
Second, I got a quick question for the GIS guy.
I think John does too.
Oh, and there are no planning commission recommendations on this.
Pardon?
There are no planning
Oh,
commission.
that's right, because it's other business. Okay, just staff comments and recommendations.
I don't know if it's possible with the GIS because it's ArcMap, but can you measure, show us the distance from the yellow line down to her house?
Which part of the yellow line?
Nope, not that one, the one, well, yeah, you can do that one too. I mean, just show us the two distances.
Oh, isn't that cool? Look at that.
Yeah, so it's 330 feet to there. And then how about the other corner, which is actually the closest part to her house? Yeah, so you have 162 plus the R15 buffer. So there's a considerable amount of distance.
One other thing on the fence, there's already a chain link fence back there in front of the buffer, but where's the privacy? Is there gonna be a privacy fence too, or the fence that is gonna remain this there now?
So you have The chain link fence is what's required for the detention pond, and is along a portion of that back curb. You know, where you see, and you can see it on your screen now, all the green stays. Where the new acoustic fence goes, extending from the detention pond, going towards Alabama Road, you know, to the right, will be put right on the back of the curb. So we won't be disturbing any of that area that you see. So it'll be put right along the back of the curb at that location.
Okay. And so this yellow line at the bottom, the shopping center above, the buildings above that are not part of the
Correct. It's different.
OB 37.
That's correct.
But would it be the shopping center's responsibility for a fence along that bottom yellow line, or who?
That would be that property owner, which is, there's self-storage and there's other uses that are there, not part of this property.
Okay, so
Along that section, and where, it might be easier for me to look at I can show you on our survey.
Commissioner Gamble?
Mr. Moore, for clarification, can you tell us where trucks will enter and exit the shopping center from, for clarification?
down here.
Sure, and if I turn to this also answers some of your questions, Commissioner Burrell, about the fencing. This is the property we're speaking of here. The new fencing is along the back of the curb here. There's existing chain link fencing that runs through some of these portions here that will be left alone. That's probably what you've seen as well. The trucks would enter, there's two locations for access. One is here at the signalized intersection, and one is directly in front.
And I think that's where Ms. Mitten's concerns are coming, is for the trucks that are entering from the lighted signal. There is no buffering or protection, or there's minimal buffering and protection along that entrance road, but for Mr. Moore, that buffer is owned by this other out parcel, correct? That's not being considered for the dock?
Yes, that's a different property. And we might, if we could go back to the
But aren't there
GIS.
trucks entering there now?
There's plenty of
They're
trucks.
already existing?
Yes.
So, I mean,
Do we know what the anticipated increase in truck deliveries would be from what it is currently?
I mean, it would be, I think what we talked about was what? 1 or 2. Yeah, you're looking at 2 or 3 a week. So minimal type of increase overall. Because again, this is not a industrial distribution or warehouse distribution use. It's so it's just they have to have a way to get inventory in. So it is still limited to the retail uses.
so the entrance right here where it says NRC on Alabama Road 92.
Yes.
Okay, if they come in this way, and she's down here to the left. First of all, that's already an entrance in an existing road around the back of the shopping center. That's a storage facility, but you still got this R15 buffer, it's all wooded, and this R15 lot above her is all wooded.
Well, but it's also a private road, right?
Yes.
So he doesn't own that property.
Not that section.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
we can't put a fence there, and it's already a private road, so.
I do know that the green you see is part of the buffer.
Yeah, there's a buffer right there, there's trees or bushes.
Right.
So
That's
those
the
are-
R15 strip that
Right.
surrounds that area. Okay.
That's the required buffer for that other
so
commercial
you're
piece,
putting
so
the
it
fence-
stays.
You're putting the fence where you can legally put the fence.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so The thing about putting the fence somewhere else, that's just not gonna happen with this,
Can't do
this OB.
We've put it as,
Okay.
in all the places we possibly could.
Yes, right. Okay, any other questions? You already, yeah, you already questioned, yeah, you already seconded.
All right,
So
made a
if there's
motion.
no other questions, I'll go ahead and call a question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Second item for today is other business number 51, which is to consider a reduction to minimum lot size for proposed lots 39A and 39B for Dinesh Roshan, property located at the southwest intersection of Holt Road and Emery Lane, in land lot 1103 of the 16th District. By way of background, the Board of Commissioners conducts all reductions to minimum lot size pursuant to a code amendment to section 134-271-7A, adopted on February 27, 2018. The subject property is zoned R20, which requires a 20,000 square foot minimum lot size for a single-family lot. The applicant would like to split the existing lot into 2 lots so they can build 2 new houses. All the existing structures would be removed. Proposed Lot A would be 18,118 square feet, and proposed Lot B would be 18,118 square feet. Both reductions are approximately a 9% decrease in required lot size. The staff would ask the Board of Commissioners to conduct a public hearing and consider the proposed reduction to minimum lot size. Is the applicant present? The applicant is present, and there are 2 people here opposed to the case. All the, 3? All those opposed, please raise your hands. 7. Let the record show there's 7 people here opposed. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Danish Roshan, and thank you for giving me the time to talk about this land. That I think is enough for building one house, is good for neighborhood, and also good for Cobb County. And is right now is always that land is dirty, and we have to clean up all the time, because they put garbage on that pond. And that's if one house they build it over there is can keep it clean and good for all of us. That's all.
Okay, sir, thank you very much. Any questions from the board, Mr. Rojas? Okay, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
If you take a seat, please, and we'll hear from the other side now. All right, those in opposition, you have 10 minutes. Just remember to divide your time accordingly, so you can all speak your piece. Let us know who you are.
Yeah, okay. My name is James Rosick. I live at 2141 Sedalia Court. That is in District 2. From what I understand, this is actually a variance request, and I'll say why. And what's interesting is it's not mentioned in the staff report, okay? But if you look at page 3 of the variance application, it calls a variance of a reduction in lot size, which is what this is. It calls it a variance, okay? So I don't know why the staff report omitted the variance criteria, but it's pretty obvious it does not meet the variance criteria of the code section. I believe it's 347(2)A and B. And if you look at the application, the applicant does not give any reason for doing this. And it's obvious it does not meet the intent of the R20 zoning district, because you're taking and the reason why, namely, is you're taking a legal lot that is conforming, and you're creating not only 1, but 2 non-conforming lots out of it. You're going exactly backwards of what typically you try to do in this type of situation. And So I just wanted to mention that, and also, again, I'm not clear as to why there's no mention of the variance criteria in the staff report. And I don't want to take the time to read it, because I know there's a lot of us that want to speak here, but please keep that in mind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Good morning. I'm Peggy Jackson, and my property is at 2506 Emery Lane, and I am adjacent to this property. My property line runs the property line of this property. For all the years that I have lived here, the existing house on that property has been in disrepair, and it has been renovated extensively, and an addition on the back. I don't know why I was not notified. I don't know if the other residents were notified, but I was not of this hearing. So I am opposed on that basis, and I don't understand why this is old business. Other business. Okay, I don't understand what that means. And the entrance to I don't know where the entrance to this lot, the newly created lot will be. If it is on Emery Lane, I don't know that it is adequate distance from the stop sign. We have lots of traffic for Wheeler High School. We are 2 blocks from Wheeler High School. So I don't believe that it would be a safe condition to have the entrance on Emery. And basically on Holt Road, I don't know how that would be a far enough distance from the stop sign. So I do oppose this, and thank you.
Okay. Excuse me, ma'am, just 1 second. 2 things. Where's John? There you are. There has to be a sign posted that there's, all right, so, but the other thing is, I thought we were supposed to send letters out to everybody within 1,000 feet of.
I did not receive a letter, and the posting of the sign does not have a case number, anything on it.
It just says what?
I have a picture of it if you'd like to see it.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to see it, please.
Yeah, the sign when issued would have had the fact that it was other business
Yeah.
and the color of the sign and all that.
Could I, or you can put it up there, yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, she's taking the time to come visit us, and I think we ought to take a look at what you have there, so. Yeah, so. It doesn't even tell you how to look it up. You're right, there's no OB case on it. So, John, we need to be, she's got a point. Okay, all right, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate bringing that to our attention. I apologize for that.
Thank you.
I'm Hill Wright, resident of District 2 and also resident of this neighborhood. I've invested in this neighborhood and with a certain expectation that the characteristic of the neighborhood would be a certain way. There are other residents that have contacted me, emailed me, stopped by to see me, that are concerned about this. They can't be here today because they have to work. But there's a lot more concern than just us here today. We've reached out to the applicant to try to find out information. No response to working with the community. But the biggest thing is they're taking a lot that's conforming, make it into 2 non-conforming lots and all. If you allow this, in this case, it sets a precedence, and there are plenty of other lots in this neighborhood in East Cobb that this also would paint a target on for in the future. If developers can get their hands on those lots, they'll start splitting them and trying to stack density into our neighborhoods. So this is a bad thing because it will set a precedence that will change our neighborhoods. And I'm asking you to vote no. And I also want to let you know that we as voters are paying attention, and we will support candidates that protect our neighborhoods. Thank you.
I just want you to know that we got plenty of emails about this, so even though they may not have been here today, I can assure you that your neighbors have access to us, and we're receiving their concerns.
Okay.
So thank you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Paige Morgan, and I am a resident of Area 2. I do not live in this neighborhood, but I make my living selling real estate. And I am here on behalf of those who have bought properties in neighborhoods within our East Cobb area who want their property values protected. It is my opinion that if we set a precedence and we start dividing currently zoned properties into smaller lots, we are doing exactly what the folks of East Cobb do not want. We do not want to increase the density. I make my living selling land to builders, and I am here to oppose that a new home be built on a sliver of land. It sets a precedence that we can never roll back. We must maintain the integrity of our neighborhoods. With this property being as close as it is to one of our larger high schools in the area, with an unknown facility to be at the old East Cobb Middle School building, the traffic at that corner is absolutely the wrong place to be putting a driveway. If you put it at Holt Road, you can't do anything with it, and at Emory, it would back up into a residential neighborhood. The request for smaller lot size will decrease the value in our properties, which will also decrease the property values, which will decrease the taxes. I think that's something that we should all consider, and I ask you to deny this request. The applicant has not shown a history of being a good neighbor to its neighbors by informing them of any of the variances that he is requesting. He also has not been a good neighbor in maintaining the property. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Any others in opposition?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Joseph Rami. I live at 451 Springs End Lane, which is at the end of this subdivision. I think Paige just stated pretty much everything that I was going to be stating as well. Immediate devaluation of the properties around it, and there's possibility of opening it up to future developers of basically cannibalizing other lots to build more dense homes. Definitely, a lot of people are opposed to this. It's a high-traffic road to begin with, and adding more traffic to that road will just become a safety concern, especially for Wheeler High School, which, if a lot of us remember, there was an incident with a hit and run. So we would also like to have that as consideration. I mean, we're looking at most of these homes are on approximately about 23,000, 24,000 square feet, which, you know, we're going to be reducing that tremendously for what purpose? So we are definitely opposed to this motion here.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other voices in opposition? Seeing none. John, what's the staff recommendation?
Mr. Chairman of the Board, during the pendency of this application, we did look at the lots down Emory Lane and across the street in the area, and all the lots are over 20,000 square feet. So based on that, the staff would recommend the board deny this request.
Okay. Commissioner Ott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. You know, a lot of the folks, they kind of, I don't have to say a lot because they already said what I was going to say. But anyway, let me talk about a few things. James, it's not listed as a variance because the board, back about a year and a half ago, was unhappy with reductions in lot sizes and road frontages being in front of the variance board. And so initially it was put that they would go in front of the variance board, then come here, and then it was changed. Instead of doing that, they just come straight to the board. Everybody up here knows that a reduction in lot frontage and the reduction in lot size is a variance. That's why it's here. And it was determined to make it other business. So that's why it was here. I think that the folks that stood in opposition and all the emails that we received, it talked about exactly what it is. This is the entrance to a neighborhood. The board should not be in the practice, and there are many examples. We had an issue in my neighborhood where the board does not allow carving up lots and making them different than what's in the neighborhood. And a perfect example is, and I know Paige, you go by it, and I'm not sure about some of the other folks, but on Lower Roswell Road, there's those 2 new houses that are being built right across from Sentinel Lake. And that owner came to me and wanted to put 4 homes, basically making them smaller lots, the same as we saw here, and I said no. And so those 2 homes are built on lots that match and meet what's in that neighborhood. And that's what should happen. So you don't need to stand up here and threaten us with votes. We do what is right, regardless of whether you vote for us or not. And so with that, I make a motion to deny.
We have all kinds of seconds. Any other questions? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, Board, the third item on today's other business agenda is item number 57, which is to consider a stipulation amendment for A1 mini storage regarding rezoning application 386 of 1985. The property is located on the south side of Riverside Parkway and on the north side of I-20 in land lot 591 of the 18th District. By way of background, the property was rezoned to light industrial in 1985 for mini warehouse office use only. The applicant would like to amend the stipulations to allow 5 U-Haul trucks to be parked on the property for the convenience of their customers and local businesses. The trucks would be parked along the front, along Riverside Parkway. If approved, all previous conditions should remain in effect. The staff would ask the board to conduct a public hearing and consider the proposed stipulation amendment. Is the applicant present? The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 57? I'll let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward and be sworn in?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Fernette Williams. This is the first time I've ever done this, so bear with me. I work for A1 Mini Storage, and I live in Austell, Georgia. I represent A1 Mini Storage, and we are seeking approval to add U-Haul trucks to the front of our property or on the property, that we might rent them successfully.
Okay.
I have 3 points, two to three points that I can go over, answer any questions that you might have. Again, this is the first time I've done it, so. Our company, A1 Mini Storage and A1 U-Haul, provides U-Haul trucks for the people in the neighborhood. We are in walking distance of several apartment complexes. We are just off, we're in Cobb County. We're one of the largest facilities in Cobb County, right at the cusp of Douglas County. So we provide U-Haul trucks for several facilities or a lot of people in the area. I apologize, I'm stuttering a little bit. And we are 1 mile from Douglas County. I've said that already, my apologies. We create awareness in the area for people who need U-Haul trucks. We're easily accessed, and we are able to rent U-Haul trucks. That's all I have right now, but I'm able to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Sure, Commissioner Cupid.
Hi, what's your name, ma'am?
Fernette Williams.
Fernette, how long have you owned the property?
The property has been owned by A1 Mini Storage for, I believe, about 30 years.
Yes.
I've been there for 12.
Okay, I think we.
Yes,
yeah,
I've
we
met you,
interacted.
we've
Okay.
met you.
Okay, good.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I met with the owner maybe about 7 or 8 years ago. And I apologize for you sitting here for 2 hours. What I'd like to do is really hold this and come and walk this property. Because I understand that this is this other business item is in response to a code enforcement matter, the U-Haul trucks already being there. And when I was on the site 7 or 8 years ago, there were other code enforcement matters. But I saw in the application that it was desired for the trucks to be parked along Riverside Parkway. I remember when I did walk the property with the owner before, there was another place where vehicles were stored behind one of the buildings.
That was
where there's-
previously, you know.
Yes, exactly. I thought that that would be preferable, because sometimes when you see a lot of those trucks parked in front of there, it doesn't even provide opportunity for patrons to park there. And then if you could see, there's that car wash. It's just difficult traversing this area the way the trucks are parked now. So I was looking at possibly having the vehicles parked behind that other area, but really, I would feel more comfortable looking and seeing what's going on, because before we had a number of vehicles that were parked back there that were non-conforming. Yes, ma'am.
Can I speak? Okay, we do have space behind our gate where we can keep 5 trucks.
5 trucks. How many trucks are you looking at having?
5 to 6.
So you would keep them all back there?
Yes, ma'am. If we're able to park at least one maybe at my door,
So people
where people
know
can
that-
actually know, because so the customers will know that we do have U-Haul.
Okay.
But they don't have to be parked directly in the front.
Okay, I think I could be amenable to that, but I would much prefer to come out to the site and see you or see the owner.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes,
us-
ma'am. We
and
can
us,
set that up.
make a decision on this at the next hearing. Yeah,
Understood.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I'd ask that we hold other business item 57 to the next hearing.
Second, discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0. Thank you for coming today, ma'am.
Thank you.
I know, yes, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Board, the last item for today's other business is number 58, which is to consider a stipulation amendment for David Cleek regarding rezoning application Z25 of 2015. The property is located on the northwest side of North Park Place, north of Windy Hill Road, in land lot 804 of the 17th District. By way of background, the property was rezoned to office and institutional in 2015 for a medical office. When rezoned in 2015, the applicant's representative stipulated that the signage would remain as built. The applicant would like to renovate their signage package with a new monument-based sign and a wall sign, which is attached for your review. Both signs would meet the sign code. If approved, all previous conditions would not conflict with this amendment would remain in effect. We would ask the Board of Commissioners to conduct a public hearing and consider the proposed stipulation amendment. Is the applicant present? Is David Cleek here? Is anyone here opposed to it? Mr. Chairman, the applicant is not present and there's no one opposed to it.
So what's the staff recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, the staff would recommend the board deny this request.
Deny the request. So Commissioner Ott.
And, Mr. Chairman, I'm in agreement with staff. I mean, the reader board sign is the main part of what they want to put up there, and this is interior. This is not on road frontage. And so that's part of the issue, because if you look at the drawings, and I had to kind of go to a map to see where this was. And so it's not a proper location. John, you want to show them where the sign would be?
Can somebody point out this?
Okay, well, that's not where I thought it was going to be, but,
Well, that's not.
yeah, I just not on support. So I make a motion to deny.
Okay, you have a second?
Second.
Yes.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
The wall sign, is that what's currently
Now, the wall sign in your
This-
packet is a brand-new wall sign.
this?
So they're doing a wall sign and a monument-based sign along the road.
Okay, we can't
And-
have
and I
two
don't
on
re-
site. Signs can't.
Well, I don't really have a problem with the wall sign. What I have problems with is the reader board sign.
Yeah.
Okay, can we amend the motion then to approve the wall sign as depicted and deny?
That's fine. I mean, yeah, well, all right, I'll amend my motion to approve the wall sign as depicted, but deny the monument-based reader board sign.
Second.
Okay. Call the question. Passes 5-0. With that, I believe we're done, right?
There's one more piece of business, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, before we leave, it's a sad day. We're losing one of our trusted employees in Jason Campbell.
That's the last piece of business.
And John Chase, if you'd come up to the podium, please.
Jason's
know.
lucky because he gets to say this is his last zoning hearing, unlike some of us.
But you have, Jason, you've been one of the quiet heroes of the county for many, many years.
It's good to be on paper instead of in person.
And I believe the board joins me in extending you our thanks for your many years of dedicated public service to this county. You've left this a better county than you found it.
Thank you.
And I know I personally wish you nothing but the best, and you're always welcome back here.
Thank you, and I thank all of you for everything you've done for me. I appreciate it.
Any members of the board?
I just want to say thank you. I usually call John Peterson, but when he goes on vacation so much in Alaska, I have to rely on you and Terry and some of the others, but you've always been responsive and dedicated, and I really appreciate all your hard work over the last 29 years?
25.
25 years?
Seems like
Thank you. We're going to miss you, and keep in touch.
I will. Thank you.
It probably seems like 29.
Well, 39.
You're leaving very big shoes to fill, and so I know that your fellow workers that you're leaving behind are probably dreading moving forward because now they're going to have to pick up the load. So, all the best.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for always being helpful
You're welcome.
and being kind about what can sometimes be a very adversarial process. So, yes, thank you for your
times.
support.
Thank you.
Wish you the best.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you, Jason. I know I spent more time with you when I was on the other side. And you helped me become the person I am today. So again, I thank you for that.
Thank
Those are
you.
great words. All
I
right,
appreciate
with that, best of luck, Jason.
Thank you.
And we're adjourned.